Hey, James, thanks for doing this today.
Hey, Mark. How are you, buddy?
Good. Are there any significant, or what are the significant or notable changes to the way you're approaching preseason camp this year to maybe things you've done in the past? I know you have some new coaches, a new coordinator. Are there any things you've shuffled up a little bit? Thanks.
So not a whole lot. There's some rule changes in terms of how many full pad practices you can have, how many what they're calling uppers practices that you can have, and then obviously helmet only. I shouldn't say helmet only because you can wear spider pads now, but that's a little bit stricter than what it's been in the past. That's probably one change. And then I think the other thing, which we've done in the past, but we're doing it right now, and I've been very pleased with it, is all of our walkthroughs and installation periods have been two groups. So you got two defensive groups going on and two offensive groups going on. So I'm a big believer in reps. As much as you tell these guys to take mental reps when they're standing in the back, the best way to get guys, confidence and understanding what we're trying to do is by doing it. So we're doubling our reps, through first team, second team, third team, and even fourth team. So that's been helpful. That's probably something that's jumped up. But probably the biggest changes are just, kind of all the NCAA rule changes that have over the last, 4 to 5 years have changed. Really, the college football camp model is totally different. I don't know if it was illegal when I was in college, but we did 3-a-days the entire time. I think it probably, I don't know. I don't know if it was legal or not, but we did 3-a-days the entire time. A practice in the morning, a practice in the afternoon, and a special teams practice at night. Then obviously that everybody went to 2-a-days, for as long as I could remember. And now obviously no 2-a-days and a day off, a mandatory day off. We never had a day off. I don't ever remember in my 20 years before of ever having a day off during training camp. So, those are fairly significant changes, but it's been good.
Tyler Donahue, and then we'll go to Greg Pickle.
Hi, James.
Hey, Tyler.
Is it easy to pick up on the QB wide receiver chemistry in place with the Clifford brothers? Is that just something that you can see on the field? And have you ever coached a duo at those positions? Liam Clifford also, is he well positioned to make an impact here in year one?
Yeah, I don't think I have. I mean, I've obviously coached a number of brothers, on the same team, or guys that I coached at a previous institution, and then obviously came with me to another place. I've done that, but I don't think I've ever had a quarterback wide receiver tandem. And then what I would say is it's hard to say that because Liam's not really getting reps with Sean and the ones. So I haven't really had a chance to kind of see that. But it's been good. Liam, as you can imagine, he's probably further ahead than most freshmen just based on the conversations that he's had with his older brother about college football, about Penn State, about the offense, and then, kind of understanding what it was going to take, from a training perspective, from a running perspective. He killed the conditioning test the first time, because again, he's got an older brother that's going to tell him kind of the real deal and how it goes. So, we'll see. He's strong enough and fast enough. He tested really well, and he's smart. So I think he could help us. One of the things we're going to talk about here pretty soon is, what players would be willing to burn a red shirt for a special teams role. And that kind of starts to help us kind of get an idea of guys that, maybe we can get some reps on special teams early on while their offense and defensive, roles grow. But even if it didn't, would you still want to play as a true freshman? Obviously, the 4 games helps with that a little bit, but, that's one of the notes that I got written down, to talk to the staff about in the morning. I want to start having those discussions by position.
Greg Pickle, and then Audrey Snyder.
Good evening, James. You have Jaquan back at one spot, and obviously
I didn't hear you. I was saying hi. I missed the first part.
Sorry about that. Good evening. You have Jaquan Brisker back at one safety spot, and I would assume the other one is maybe one of your better competitions during camp. What have you seen and evaluated there so far during the first handful of practices?
Yeah, it's been pretty impressive, to be honest with you. Ellis, as you guys know, Ellis is there now. Obviously Tig, Sutherland, and Tyler. Those guys are battling, whether it's to back up Brisker or whether it's to compete for that other starting job. And then there's obviously some other packages, whether it's dollar or nickel or star that will factor in there too. But, obviously Brisker's put himself in a position that, he's obviously, a guy that we think is going to have a significant opportunity to make huge plays for us at the starting safety position. So it's really figuring out who's that other guy. And you could really, right now at this stage, you could make arguments for a number of them. The good thing is some guys like, Tyler, who hasn't played a whole lot of football, but we think is extremely talented. The light's starting to come on for him right now. So it's a legitimate competition. Sutherland's, kind of the vet, has been there and done it, and obviously been a huge contributor on special teams. So it's a really good competition. I think we'll be in a position where we'll have 4 safeties that we'll feel good about, playing.
Audrey Snyder, and then we'll go to Ben Jones.
Hey, James, happy Wednesday.
You as well, Audrey.
Thanks. Since we talked to you in Indianapolis, how happy are you with the vaccination rate? Has anything changed there? Are you happy with the way that's going?
Yeah, we're really chipping away at it. I'm not going to be happy until we're 100%, and I'm not going to get into the exact percentages, but we're pretty high. I think there's a handful of guys left that I think there's probably a few that may do it, and there's a few that probably will not. And for me, it is a personal decision. I'm trying to educate them as much as I possibly can, through our doctors and trainers. Again, I'm not one of these people. I'm not doing the educating. I'm not the expert. So, our trainers and doctors are doing that as much as we possibly can. And then also making sure everybody understands, based on the rules, the consequences of our decisions. And when I say that, I'm talking about from a Big Ten and from an NCAA and from a Penn State perspective. I won't be happy until we're 100%. I don't know if we'll get there because there's just a couple guys that for a variety of reasons may not be comfortable, or their families may not be comfortable. So we're talking about it all the time. I've been pleased overall. We showed that we were able to kind of handle this. We learned from it a lot. I think we did a really good job with COVID last year. And obviously now we got to be able to, handle COVID and, play football the way I know we're capable of playing.
Ben Jones, and then Rich Scarcella.
Hey, James, how's it going?
Hey, Ben. Good, man. You?
Good. When it comes to the development of Sean, I imagine that a quarterback position is one of those things where you can't have 2 guys telling him different stuff in terms of how to get better or what to do to get better. Who sets that messaging? Is it you? Is it Mike? How do you get on the same page of, Sean, this is what you want to get better at, and this is how you do it?
Yep. It's funny, though. I'll say this, Ben. And I agree with you in theory, but go to an NFL training camp practice. Most NFL organizations, you got the head coach as the offensive coordinator, then you have an offensive coordinator, then you have a quarterback coach, and they're all talking to that guy. So for us, one of the things you guys probably notice when you come to practice, and I've done this, all the way back since I first became a head coach, is during team periods, I go to the defensive side of the field for a number of reasons. To your point, I want that quarterback to have one voice, one guy talking to him, so he's getting a consistent message all the time. Another thing, I love being on the defensive side and watching the quarterback and watching the operations and watching his eyes. I get a really good kind of perspective of what's going on from over there. And then it allows me, obviously, with the tempos of when to blow the whistle based on the tag off or the thud or whatever it may be. But I think that's a good point. We want to make sure that there's consistency in what we're coaching and consistency in our message. But that hasn't changed with Mike. It's pretty much been that the whole time. Early on, probably early on, especially at Vanderbilt, because we were running specifically, my offense that I was running before that at Maryland and Kansas State. Obviously, that was a little bit different dynamic.
Rich Scarcella, and then our last question will go to John Sauber.
Hey, James, how are you tonight?
Rich, good, man. You?
I'm all right, thanks.
I've been wanting to ask you for years. What is the is there a reason for the green? Is that like a green themed room, or is it just you like green, or is it Eagles, or is it Irish, or what do we got going on?
It's a Packers helmet.
Huh?
It's a Green Bay Packers helmet. I have a Lombardi thing hanging here. Yeah.
I love it. I've been wanting to know that for years. That makes sense now.
Yeah. Hey, what have you seen so far from the running back position? And ideally, what would you like the rotation to be when the season starts in terms of a number, whether that's 3 or 4 or whatever?
Yeah, I've been real pleased with it. I think we have one of the stronger running back rooms in the country. Jaquan's done a great job of coaching and developing and recruiting at that position. Plus, they're really good guys. They work well together. They challenge each other. And we're also big believers that we're going to play 3 backs. The days of the featured backs in college football, I think, are gone. We want to play 3 backs. Yeah, I think it's hard to play 4. You better have a 4th ready because one of those 3 will get dinged up, and then it will just go to a 3-man rotation with that new guy in there. I do think we have 4 backs that we could play with. Trying to figure out who the top 3 will be. We'll get a couple live scrimmages, which will help us, kind of determine that. But yeah, I think the number is 3, and we're very pleased with that group and that unit. And we kind of got, kind of an interesting dynamic in there. A couple of young guys that had some success last year as true freshmen. Some returning veterans that were out with some injuries. Some transfers. It's really a good mix of personalities and styles in that room.
And our last question goes to John Sauber.
Hey, James, where have you seen the most growth from Jaquan Brisker in the few years you've had him? Hey, James.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Where have you seen the most growth from? Thank you. Most people do. Glad to hear that. Where have you seen the most growth from Jaquan Brisker in the few years you've had him in the program from an off-the-field standpoint? We know who he is on the field, but where is that growing off the field?
Yeah, it's really all of it. I'm super proud of him. I think you guys all know, he could have left last year and came back for a number of reasons, and never really has looked back. He's had his best 3 semesters in a row now, academically. He doesn't even have to take a full load of classes this fall to graduate, which is the ideal situation you'd like for all of your seniors, to be able to go under 12 credits, which is what the NCAA allows you to do if they're the last credits you have to take to graduate. So he's on schedule to do that as well. I'm really proud of him. He's been a great leader with the younger players. His interactions with me have been fantastic. He's been great with helping us recruit, in Pittsburgh, in WPIL. I'm really proud of him. He's just in a really good position, academically, athletically, socially. Kind of